Do people want decentralization? Do people want that such a freedom? Do they need it or they don't? There are a lot of communities in the crypto space who said that they will create a governance truly based on a DAO and a decentralized way of thinking. It wouldn't work because what happened is that people started getting into groups and they were getting influencers. It's just human nature. By the end of the day, the question of is there true decentralization?
Hello, Jacob from BeInCrypto. I'm here with Mike Vitez from Saturnia Design. How are you doing?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to meet you as well. It's a lovely conference, and I'm really looking forward to these opportunities that we can discover today.
As a co-founder and CTO at Saturnia, what is your role at NBX? I know that you are supporting the organizers with a solid system behind it.
Yes, we have established a partnership with them that we basically created an FT ticketing minting system for them, which you can see Molino around there. Basically, from the concept through the design until the actual implementation, we did it all. Basically, they reached out to us that they would like to see such thing where people can scan a QR code and create an NFT for such rewards as Ferrari and some crypto treasures, and we basically get it all. So in these practical senses, we are doing from the very beginning, where we do the interview with the stakeholders, so to say, to understand what are their needs, and then we figure out when we can best solve it, with what technical tools we can solve this. Not just the implementation part, but how can we work with their already existing systems as well. Then we start drafting it and we will implement it. That's what we've done so far with them as well.
Perfect. Congratulations on that contribution to NBX. Tell me, please, about the thing that you specialize with in making the user experience smooth and seamless as possible. You told me that there is a misunderstanding in the market when it comes to Web3. Could you develop more on that, please?
Our angle is that we think that of course, there is an industry as Web3, but from the user's perspective, it doesn't matter if it's a Web3 or a Web2 product, because they just want to use a product. Because users doesn't have, so to say, of course, there's a small percentage of the market who they have, but on the average, they don't have a taste of what kind of technology they want to use. They just want to have a good technology they can use. And I think that a lot of funders and a lot of product owners are misleading themselves in that sense, that Web3, as it is not a USP in itself. But if you want to create a good product where blockchain adds a layer, adds some solution for the user's needs, for their problems, then it makes sense to use it. But instead of focusing on that, yes, I would like to force Web3 into this product, people should focus on how can I solve the user's problem and what is the exact problem that we are trying to solve. And that needs a lot of self-criticism and a lot of iterations to do that. I think most of the products fail, and that's what we have experienced in the last 10 years on the market, that they start rapidly implementing instead of planning it outright. What does it mean, planning? When I say planning, you should be as self-criticism, you should criticize yourself that, okay, I think that I should use Web3, but is it necessary to use Web3 or not? So there can be a part always where you can see, and in that sense, I'm talking about consumer products, because there is another group of products which are infrastructure or protocol layer products. That's a different story, of course. But on the consumer level, they want to experience good user experience. Like, imagine that your experience with your banking applications, it should be smooth, and you have to be sure that your funds are protected, you won't get frauded, you don't have any risk, you understand what you do because you are dealing with your money. And when it comes to Web3, most of the products are somehow connected to money, trading, sending, changing money in some ways. So it's very, very important to be aware of these risks and always focus on the right problem and iterate a lot on these issues.
You're gonna have a speech today, tomorrow. It's gonna be, because NBX is today's conference. It's gonna be today, right?
Yes.
All right. You're gonna speak about making Web3 obvious when you're gonna introduce these tools and mindset of product development. What is your keynote about?
Basically, I want to point out and extend the things I've started explaining just very briefly to you. with very tangible frameworks what we use. And when I say framework, I'm not talking about technical tools, but a kind of a mindset, how you can frame your mindset, how you can think in the right direction, and what are the daily, weekly practices that you can use on your own base without having any external party, and how can you start rethinking of your product. I give you an example of our past, which is very common. There was a client who said that, okay, I want to develop such technology and I believe there's a USP behind. And I said that, okay, guys, they were thinking about spending 200K or so on the software development. I said, what if you spend, let's say, much less of that, like 5% of that, 10% of that, something like that, to point out if it's feasible for the market, if there is an actual USP in your product, and if you will have an ROI if you develop it. And we pointed out that in the way they were thinking, it's a dead end, but there's another way to use it. So basically, we have saved a lot of money for them, and they went in the right direction. And that's how we can engage with our partners. And I don't like, to be honest, I don't like to say client. I would rather say partner, because it is, in a practical sense, we are always somehow inside, even if we are an external team, because you have to have a lot of different angles to see, not just the technical, but also the business perspective as well. You have to understand the full concept, the vision, the financials, the legal, everything all together to give such a view. And when people heard the term user experience, they think something else, which is on the surface level. And in some cases, in some kind of definition, it is, because it can be a surface level ergonomical thing. But if you go deeper, it's much extended. And it is about how can I make a product on the market that will be live 1, 2, 3 years later as well.
Not everybody have such a high aspirations to survive on the market for a year or two, but yeah, you are trying to choose the partners that are worth it, worth the effort, and actually the money and time you will invest. And making them partners is like you also developing as a company to directions that were not possible before. So that's a beautiful example. Maybe last topic I would like to touch with you is this user experience versus the OG possession of your crypto key phrase and everything that you do by yourself. That was the promise that cryptocurrency always gave us, that you are your own boss, your own manager, your bank, right? Now, when you are trying to make user experience smooth and delete unnecessary layers of complicating that, do you think that that vision of having everything in control is no more possible? If you want to have smooth user experience, you need to give up some of this freedom.
Okay, that's a very good question, and allow me to be a bit provocative with that. First of all, I would question, or with a question to yours, do people want decentralization? Do people want that such a freedom? Do they need it, or they don't? That's my, let's say, philosophical question. And on the other hand, when I think decentralization is itself, it's not a USP, but it can be used for a lot of things, of course. But if it's risking such trust that they used to have, with my example with the banking application, it won't worth it for them. And on the other hand, which is, I think, very interesting, and without names, there are a lot of communities in the crypto space who said that they will create a governance truly based on a DAO and a decentralized way of thinking. And it wouldn't work, because what happened is that people started getting into groups and they were getting influencers. It's natural. It's just human nature. So by the end of the day, the question of is there true decentralization? First question, is there a need? And the second is, can it be done?
Absolutely, that's truly philosophical question about the balance between the freedom and security, right? So,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Mike. It was a pleasure to speak with you. Enjoy the experience, and thank you for contributing to this great conference.
Thank you for having me, and enjoy your fair as well.